Hi, I'm Mark Ryan with Easy 8A, and I love talking about anything related to 8A. This is my third update on what's going on with the Ultima Services court filings. September 15th, Ultima filed for additional injunctive relief. So let's talk about what that means and what's going on.
All right, so I'm going to go over each of the 5 things that Ultima is asking for and give a quick comment on each. The first thing is that they're asking for the SBA to stop making any awards to companies that use the rebuttable presumption in their application. This is kind of an odd request as the SBA has already done that, but they're putting it in writing, so I guess it kind of makes sense. The second thing they're asking for is the SBA to not use a less rigorous standard for approving the narratives than they have in the past for companies that required a narrative. This is an interesting request. It's definitely what the SBA has done. In the past we would see narratives that covered 4 areas if you included establishing an access to credit issue, in addition to the prior employment, running the company, and education. And now, in the last month or so, as we've been doing all these new narratives, they're just requiring 2 stories. So we have seen a change in that standard. I don't know if it's reasonable for them to ask that change in the standard doesn't take place. It seems like it's just reasonable that it's consistent to everybody. But that's what they're asking for, and it's probably the biggest part of kind of their request, or the most realistic part of their request. The third thing they're asking for is that the SBA stop using the 8A program in administrative and technical support industry, which was their NACE code. To me, this is a really bizarre request. I can't see why a judge would allow that. It seems really broad. They're either going to stop it for everybody or not. Kind of an odd request, certainly to their benefit. I doubt that the court does much with that. The fourth thing they're asking for is for the court to appoint a monitor to oversee these participants, I assume the narratives basically. That's possible. If the court doesn't give that, they're saying, if you don't want to do that, can you require the SBA to make the narratives public? I can't imagine the SBA doing that. I think that's kind of against the entire intent of the narrative process and having confidentiality and be able to, talk about what happened to you. So I don't see that as realistic. So it's really, will the court appoint somebody to oversee it? I don't know that it really matters if they do or don't. From what I've seen, and I've done over 100 of these narratives in the last couple of weeks, is the SBA is being very consistent. So, when I see denials of a narrative, I read it and it makes sense. I don't think this is necessary. Could the court appoint it? Sure. Does it matter? I can't see how it affects anything. The fifth thing they're asking for is basically for the SBA to stop using award, I was going to say using the program, but awarding any 8A contracts to any companies that have, the original application had the rebuttable presumption in it, even if they've submitted a narrative and the narrative's been approved. I can't imagine how the SBA would do that. They've already approved, over 1,000 of these narratives. They've awarded hundreds of contracts in the last couple weeks based on these narratives being approved. Clearly, that would be a huge interruption to government contract. Judges can do whatever they want. Who knows what the judge will do? It seems like a big ask, and I'm not sure it's even appropriate for, what the injunction was originally, to stop using that presumption. So, anyway, that's what they're asking for. Of course, if they get all of it, it's going to be incredibly disruptive for government contracting. I think it's unlikely they get much of it. Well, that's what they're asking for, and we should know pretty quickly here. In the next couple of weeks, the judge should make a determination, and we'll see the next step.